Common Sense Buffs. We're back once again for another community live show, man. This is the biggest, the largest Colorado football community live show right now. If it's Saturday and it's noontime, this is the place to be. As per usual, as you come up in here, we're going to display good manners. You're going to wipe your feet on the carpet by hitting that like, hitting that subscribe, and joining me down in the comments. We got a good one today, guys. And when there's no football to be played, there's no practices to review, there's not a lot of real film out there to analyze, we're going to have to find interesting ways to have conversations. And I think I got a good topic for you guys today. So I'm excited to be here. You see the question that we're going to be exploring right now, today, over the next hour or so. Based on the thumbnail, here's the question. Are the Colorado Buffaloes a potential team or a production team? I mean, I'm guilty. 2025, I got caught up, guys. I got caught up in potential, and I had the 2025 Colorado Buffaloes competing for a Big 12 championship. But that's not why you come to this channel. You come to this channel for the real. You want the real analysis, the real breakdown, and the real conversation, and that's what we're going to do today. So join me in the chat after you hit that like, after you hit that subscribe, and let me know, are the 2026 Colorado Buffaloes a potential team or a production team? We're going to get down and dirty today. So I appreciate you for being here. If you're cleaning the crib, if you're driving on a road trip, I'm glad to be your entertainment for the next hour. Appreciate you guys. Thank you so much for being here. As per usual, you never know who's going to pop up. We got a lot of great people that follow the channel. Oh, Mr. Hunter is in here. We're going to be talking about Demetrius Hunter today. So I'm glad that you're here. And we're going to be talking about this team from a potential or production standpoint. I know you were involved and kind of engaged in the channel early on. It's great to see you here on the live. Thank you so much, Mr. Hunter. Yeah, your son does play center for the team. And we're going to be talking about him when we do our depth chart analysis. So to go ahead and get us started with the conversation, I want to look back to 2025. And Mr. Hunter, I know you were out there, so I don't know if you followed the Colorado Buffaloes, because at the time, Demetrius was playing for the Houston Cougars. And we ended up playing the Houston Cougars in 2025. So if you were at that game, you got a chance to see Colorado versus Houston. But for many of us who are following Colorado or have been since Coach Prime arrived there, you know, we had high hope. Well, we didn't know really what to expect in 2023, right? They got off to a great start, and then kind of the season went downhill after the Stanford game. But we kind of retooled in 2024, and the team outperformed all expectations, except for a couple of games there where they were exposed due to their inability to stop the run, right? They really blew an opportunity to play in the Big 12 championship game, and then they really got embarrassed against BYU in the Alamo Bowl. But then the team retools again. Of course, they lose their starting quarterback in Shedeur Sanders. They lose superstar Heisman Trophy winner Travis Hunter. They lose a lot of their playmakers, right? They lose like a Cameron Silman-Craig, a leader and a dog on that defense. They lose BJ Green, standout defensive end, all guys who are currently playing in the NFL. They lose Shiloh, but they do retain some talent, right? You got a guy like DJ McKinney, highly touted, big expectations coming into 2025. You got a guy like Arden Walker, returning, big expectations in 2025. You got a Keaton Wade, big expectations. And then it seemed like they really got loaded up with their transfer class, right? You talk about guys like Caden Salter, right? A lot of fanfare, highly touted coming out of the transfer portal. You got a guy like Jaheim Otis, right? Alabama transfer, big name, right? Number one in the portal. You got guys at linebacker like Martavius French and Reginald Hughes. And then you got your Taufik Byards, right? So, and the guys that came back for 2025, including some of the guys that were retained like Omarion Miller, Draylon Miller. You know, we had these high hopes. They bring in Joseph Williams. They bring in Sincere Brown. And so in my analysis leading up to the 2025 season, I'm like, oh my gosh, if they went 9-4 with the team with Shador and Travis. Well, in 2025 and all the pieces that they're adding, this should be another 8-4, 9-3 season again in the making. But I was primarily focused on potential, not production. And I'm determined not to get caught up in that. So that's what the debate is going to be about today. Are we focused too much on potential with this team, or are we focused on production with this team? So let me talk about two ways that I really, really let myself get caught up in the hype in 2025, and that really didn't show up on tape in 2025. And I think the biggest example of that was our quarterback situation, which I think was the biggest story of 2025. There were many stories, some good, some not so good, but the quarterback situation was absolutely atrocious in 2025. Right. In the solution, in the post-Shador era, in the transition era from Shador to Juju, because Juju was on the 2025 team, was supposed to be Caden Salter, this dual threat quarterback who had made his name during the 2023 season over at Liberty, even though he had a down year in 2024. All indications was that he was going to bring dynamism and continue the legacy that Shador started as a bridge, right? Really play himself into the NFL as a bridge to the Juju Lewis era. And he's the perfect encapsulation of why I want to have this conversation with this fan base today. Because for him, stepping up kind of to the power four level, it was really potential, right? He did have some stuff on film, but again, like I said, in 2024, he had a down year versus production. And I mean, this was not uncommon to have early conversations about Caden Salter before the season started as a potential Heisman Trophy winner. I mean, how many of you guys remember? All right. So Duke is back, man. Duke, listen, all opinions are welcome. But the thing about this channel is that we keep it respectful. So we don't use foul language because we know how to articulate ourselves here without having to use profanity. All right. So you could share your comment. I don't have any issues with opinions that are contrary to what I believe. But disrespect or being inappropriate in the chat is not conducive to the kind of community that we're trying to build. Okay. So you can hang around. You can continue to be part of the conversation. I'm not going to block you. I just have to figure out how to get rid of this comment. Okay. Yeah, it's I mean, the only option that I have on this streaming is to block you as a user. So I'm going to give you a minute or so to delete that comment, or else I'm going to have to block you because the system that I'm using doesn't allow me to delete the comment while I'm in live. Okay, so Duke, you're welcome here. Your opinion is valued, but you got to do it differently than that. All right, I'm not going to spend any more time on that. If I don't see it deleted, then I'm going to have to block you. Okay. So 2023, he had his breakout season at Liberty. I think they played Oregon in a bowl game, right? I think they went undefeated that year. That was his best year statistically. But one good season does not establish a track record. And that's what I'm going to really get into, guys. And it might offend some of you guys. And some of you guys might tune out and say, hey, look, I don't know if this guy is becoming a hater, but that's not my style, right? I really want us to have a conversation. You guys can counter me if you think I'm off. But one good season does not establish a track record, right? In your life, you know, you don't just make decisions to hire people or promote people based on one good week, one good month. You got to see that person's track record over time. Can they do it in multiple different situations? Come 2024, he showed regression, right? And he still came into the transfer portal highly touted, even though that regression should have been a red flag, right? And we overlooked it, right? 3-star quarterback, right? Coming from Liberty, some production. We're in desperate need of a quarterback. And so we create this narrative that Caden Salter was going to come into the season and really propel us to the Big 12 championship, which I thought was a mistake. We really didn't do deep analysis. Okay. And so this year I want to do deep analysis, do things a little bit differently so we can set expectations based on data and not based on assumptions or just pure expectations or speculation on a player's ability to really help this team win. All right, so Duke says, what was so great? Had one good year. Shador Sanders was never good, but I'm not talking about Shador right now. So hopefully you can follow the conversation. I'm talking about Caden Salter right now. Okay, on the defensive side of the ball, the issue of potential versus production. How many people remember this name? Jaheim Otis. Jaheim Otis. Okay, it's the textbook case of potential bias. Right? Alabama transfer. Once we get the name Alabama in the title and transfer, we tend to give guys a couple more points, especially if they were highly touted going into their previous school, 5-star, 4-star. That's all potential, guys. That's all potential. Doesn't mean anything about how a player is actually going to play when they get on that college football field. Okay? Big name. He had all the measurables. This is another thing that we talk about. For example, with our 2026 defensive line, not everybody has the Jaheim Otis measurables, so therefore they don't get the same kind of expectation or pass that he got going into 2025. But none of that, right? The big name school, the 5-star, 4-star rating, all the measurables did not translate into anything on the football field. Okay, there's a digital, man. Hey, listen, man. Hold up. Now we got the real ones up in here, man. Now we got the real ones up in here. Hey. Now, lesson to Duke. Duke, if you're still in here, this is how you disagree. So there's a digital says, I need to stop it. Okay. You say that every week on this live stream, man. Let's see what you got to say. Shermer hurt Salter in that whole QB room. Salter is a very good QB. Okay, so we're going to blame it on the offensive coordinator. So I'm guessing what you're saying is you would take Caden Salter back for another season, but under Brendan Marion. So you're that sold on his skill set that, man, if we just had Caden Salter with Brendan Marion, I'd be very excited for the 2026 season. Is that what you're saying? Because now I'm going to have to really read your response to that before I give my commentary. I'm asking you, Digital, you're going to need to put your money where your mouth is right now on that Caden Salter take. Because it's Shermer's fault. So we put Caden Salter under Brendan Marion. Are you buying Caden Salter for 2026? Let me know in the comments. All right. Continuing what I'm saying about Jaheim Otis. Listen, he had all the measurables. He had everything coming. He couldn't even earn a starting role after all that hype. And when he did play, he was not impactful. So I'm guessing Digital is probably going to say, it was the D-line coach's fault with Jaheim Otis. Digital, I'm going to need you to get in the comments right now. Let me know if it was the D-line coach's fault, if it was Rob Livingston's fault that Jaheim Otis did not pan out for the 2025 Colorado Buffaloes. Hey guys, if you're just coming in here, this is the biggest, the largest Colorado football live community show on all of the interwebs. Big shout out to Demetrius Hunter 8018. He is the father of the center on the team, Demetrius Hunter. So give honor to my elders. Thank you so much for being here. Hopefully I do the team justice with the way that I cover it here on this live stream. Man, Dizzy, you mad quiet, man. You mad quiet. I'm going to give you a minute. Another two guys that were highly touted coming in the transfer portal. Wait, Dizzy. Okay, I spoke too soon. I would definitely take Salter under Marion. Marion is a better coach and more prepared than Shermer. Okay. Dizzy Digital is still buying Caden Salter stock. Fair. Personally, I don't know. I can't say. Because I don't think I could put all the blame on Pat Shermer. Put all the blame on Pat Shermer, right? I think there were some things there was some in-game decision making, and what I saw from Caden Salter is why I'm not completely sold even under a new head coach. Okay. 2024 season leading up into 2025 is some indication, right? He had a great 2023, regressed in 2024. Is 2025 really a continuation of the regression, Or are you saying that Pat Shurmur is the reason why he had a similar season in 2025 that he did in 2024? I don't know. Dizza, you're going to have to battle me out in the comments for that, but I'm not sold. Lamont Simmons, this fool has Shador had one good season. Shaking my head. Hey, listen, man, we're not going to get into the foolery. We're certainly not going to do name calling. That was the same thing I advised Duke to do. Unfortunately, I cannot delete that comment that he has without blocking him, but I don't want to be a channel that becomes an echo chamber. We want everybody welcomed here, but we want them to do it respectfully. So if you could please return the favor to and extend the grace to Duke until he learns what our community rules are, I would appreciate that. Lamont Simmons, good to see you. My brother jumps right in the chat and gets active. That's what the hell I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. So Lamont is saying Salter sucked, right? So he's putting the responsibility there on Salter himself. He did what he did. Coaches don't make decisions on the field. The players have to make it happen. Yeah, there were certain situations. Listen, your quarterback is going to have to win you some games in football, which is why they get the ball. The ball is in their hand every single offensive play. They touch the ball every single offensive play. Now, you guys might say, no, that's not true. What if you run a Wildcat? You get the point I'm trying to make, right? A vast majority of the time, your quarterback has the ball in their hands. They should have, in many cases, the autonomy to make adjustments based on what the defense shows them. So let's say Pat Shurmur was this terrible play caller, which I thought he should have been replaced prior to the 2025 season based on what I saw on the tail end of 2023, all of 2024. I did not think he should have been the offensive coordinator coming into 2025. However, when you're on the field as the quarterback, you have the play call, but then you also have to see what the defense is showing you and then make decisions based off of that. I didn't quite like all of the decisions that he made, but it's easy to sit here a Monday morning quarterback on what another person should have done. All I'm doing is just analysis on the play. This is not criticism on the person. I hope you guys allow me to do that as a commentator. All right, Dizza said Livingston was an overrated bum who didn't know how to use linebacker splice and didn't know how to properly scheme, especially with linebackers. Yeah, that's a fair criticism. I wouldn't necessarily call him a bum. The gentleman is now in the NFL, has a long record in the NFL. NFL knows what they're doing. I'm going to make that assumption, right? And we didn't say that about Livingston so much in 2024 when they were winning football. And this is another thing about life, guys, life lessons. And I tell my team at work this all the time. Nobody really is your friend at work. Okay? People like you to the extent that you produce. When you're not producing, you ain't nobody to nothing, and you're going to get let go. Right? So that's a life lesson there. When Livingston was winning, oh man, everybody was on the Livingston bandwagon. I'm not saying that Digital was, but everybody was loving Rob Livingston, and he was the next head coach in college football. And man, Coach Prime is going to have a hard time keeping Rob Livingston. He has a bad season, and then it's like, okay, well, he can't coach football. Okay. Well, that's fandom, man. That's fandom. But we're going to talk about linebackers because we talked about Caden Salter. We talked about Jaheim Otis. Let's talk about Martavius French and Reginald Hughes at linebacker. Right, we thought we had something there in that duo to replace Nikhai Hill-Green and Levanta Bentley. And this is a classic case of you don't know what you have until it's gone, because there was a lot of criticism for Bentley, but then when you see, oh my God, Bentley's gone, Nikhai Hill-Green is gone, they're replaced by Martavius French and Reginald Hughes, you see now, oh, well, Levanta Bentley was a good player for us. But you can't really realize these things without having the contrast, right? And I think 2025 provided quite a bit of contrast for us. Shador scrambling all over the field is a player making it happen. I think he held on to the ball too long. And I don't think I'm alone in saying that. I mean, your eyes, you got to believe your eyes sometimes, right? So I believe my eyes. Lamont Simmons, I appreciate you removing the comment. Thank you so much. I probably need to appoint some moderators. Guys, let me know if you're going to be here every Saturday. I do need some moderators in the comments. Dizza said Shurmur was terrible. I watch him run 3 consecutive failed bubble screens that the opposing defense. Oh, yeah. His play calling was very vanilla, very predictable, and any decent defense could sniff it out, right? And it really fell apart in 2025. But the question is, does the quarterback dictate the play calling as well? Because aren't you trying to figure out what a quarterback is able to execute in your playbook, and that's what you're calling? Because he certainly didn't. I don't know. Let me know in the comments. Let me know in the comments. Because put your coaching hat on for a second. You have a quarterback who really doesn't have much of an arm, right? The quarterback who doesn't have much of an arm. I think the OC would kind of lean into most of the passes are going to be 15 yards or less, or kind of bubble screens to get their confidence up, just get some completions, get into rhythm. I rarely ever saw Caden Salter in rhythm, though. I'm not saying you call 3 bubble screens in a row. You got to call some stuff where the person can have consecutive completions, because quarterback is a rhythm game, and wide receiver in relation to your quarterback, you want them to be in rhythm. But that's just me. Duke, I appreciate you. I appreciate you hanging around, man. Hey, listen, that is a sign of maturity, Duke. You're welcome here, sir. Thank you. Thank you. I hope you accepted my approach and it resonated with you in the way that I handle it respectfully. Thank you, sir. All right. Lamont says Shador may have held onto the ball long, but I'll take that over what's on the field last year. Shador was making it happen. Yeah, he was winning games. He was winning games like you need your quarterback to help you win games, right? I'm not saying that necessarily negates my desire to see him play on time. I think that's what we're going to see from him in the NFL, that playing on time. Because guess what? You cannot run around in the NFL. You cannot run around in an NFL. Even the guys who try to do it, like a Josh Allen, you see he takes massive negative plays. It's a risk reward strategy. But Josh Allen is like 6 foot. He's a tower, right? And he can take those hits to a certain extent. I don't quite know that Shador is going to be able to do that in the NFL and do it successfully. If college football is preparation for the NFL, you want to see your quarterback start to address some of those things in college before they get to the pro game. You know Todd Monken is not going to have Shador Sanders running around. He is not. He's going to call him to the sideline, have a conversation with him. Hey, either you see it, it's there, you take off running, but you're running downhill, you're not taking negative yards, or you're throwing the ball away. We're not going to be running around and doing spin moves, because you're not going to spin away from a Myles Garrett. You're just not. Not in the NFL. Those guys are not guys that you play with. All right, Dizza said Livingston was a position coach safety who was in over his head. Even in his first year, we got beat by elite running backs and QB combos. Yeah, they gave up some big games. He was still figuring it out. This is digital, that's fair. I don't think it extends to calling him a bum, though. Shador Sanders only winning against lame teams, never beat a legit team. He's only winning against lame teams. I think they played some pretty good Big 12 teams. I think they played some pretty good teams. I don't know. Duke, name the lame teams. All right. So I was talking about Martavius French and Reginald Hughes at linebacker, right? When you have 2 players that you bring in to be starters and they cannot solidify their seasons as starters, this is a unit-wide problem that we ended up having at linebacker. Now, what Dizza is saying is that it is because of Livingston's defense. His defense was the problem, not French and Hughes. But I had high hopes for French and Hughes coming into the season. So the issue is, and what's on the thumbnail is, and the question there, and nobody seems to be answering it, is are the Colorado Buffaloes of 2026 a potential or a production team? What are you basing your prediction for their record in 2026 on? Okay. Potential, Caden Salter, Jaheim Otis, French, Hughes, or to the counter argument, somebody like a Tawfiq Byard. somebody like a Tawfiq Bayard, right? Who I believe was the brightest spot on our defense in 2025, and who I easily award the defensive MVP for the season. You know, he was a dog, he had heart, and he played his butt off every single game, no matter what. You knew what you were going to get from Tawfiq Bayard no matter what. Now you say, okay, do you give credit to Livingston or do you give credit to Bayard in that situation? There's a digital. Lamont, the Duke. Does Rob Livingston get any credit for Tawfiq Bayard's play? Or when the player plays well, it is the player's responsibility and the player gets all the credit. But if the player plays poorly, it's the coach's fault. Let's have that conversation. At what point does it become the player's responsibility for the play and the tape that they put on, the film that they put out there? All right. Next guy, Ivan Yates. Classic case of production over potential. When RJ Johnson went down and Makari Vickers was intermittently injured and not playing up to potential, Ivan Yates stepped in and was a solid, productive player for us at corner. Nobody was thinking or talking about Ivan Yates coming into the 2025 season, but he was a difference maker on that defense. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to pull up the depth chart. And every Thursday, we do roster analysis here on the channel. So I did a deep dive roster analysis on the Colorado offensive depth chart. And we're going to go position by position. And you guys are going to let me know, are we banking on potential or are we banking on production? All right. While you're in here, guys, go ahead and hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and join us in the comments. We're having a lot of fun. Hopefully you are entertained. Are you not entertained? Isn't that why you're here? Dizza Digital says, stop it. Shador was running for his life because of the terrible saboteur. Hey, yo, are you a conspiracy theorist? I know the line probably checked out towards the end of the season, but they were one of the highest rated. Oh, no, this is Shador. Sorry, not 2025. Yeah, he was running for his life. But I wouldn't blame it completely on the offensive line. I still do believe he held the ball too long. Lamont Simmons says, it's always on the player, at least 80% as a player. You have to make it happen. Yeah, you got to be a playmaker out there. He signed a new contract as of last year, so it's the second year of a 4 to 5 year deal. So this is 4 out of 5 of Deion's contract. Do you honestly think there will be an extension or just, yeah, I think he has a contract through 2029. If we had this conversation on the last stream, Brennan Marion has a 2-year contract, 2026, 2027. If Brennan Marion has a great season, for me, 7-5, anything better than 7-5, and then maybe in 2027, he's going 8-4 or better. The bigger question is whether or not Brennan Marion signs an extension. Coach Prime is going to be here until 2029. I've seen all this about commits. If bad season, they do decommit. Yeah, kids decommit all the time. But that's why they have to have a good season. All right. And why is everybody ducking the question, man? Are they a potential team or a production team? Let's go ahead and pull up this depth chart and see what we got here. Hopefully you guys are enjoying the stream. Okay, let's go ahead and get rid of this banner. No, we're gonna show this. Oh yeah, that's what we need to do. There we go. All right. Let's get busy right now. We're going to do some analysis, guys. This is why you come here. This is why you come here. So Duke says this is a potential football team. And Dizza responding to my question says, those players were good, but Livingston didn't know how to scheme a defense properly. His safeties played very good because he was a safeties coach. Okay, so he does get some credit for the safety play. They all got scholarships on potential. Yeah. So what we're going to do here, we're going to do an analysis based on production. So here is how I have it set up, right? As a 2 deep, potential 3 deep offense for the Colorado Buffaloes. What does gold mean? Gold means based on the last depth chart analysis, these are the guys who are making plays. The green are guys who are making moves. The pink are guys who are on IR, and the yellow are guys who are on IR, but I'm projecting are probably going to return sooner rather than later. Okay. So we're going to go position by position. We're going to rate this position by production or potential. And we're not going to start anywhere else except in the QB room. So this is how I have the 3 deep right now for the Colorado Buffaloes. Starting Julian Lewis. Backup quarterback, Isaac Wilson. And in third string, Keneal Sweetwine. And big shout out, Rip DP22. He's going to be a part of the depth chart for this entire season. Is the Colorado Buffaloes 2026 quarterback room a potential quarterback room or a production quarterback room? Okay. So for me, this room remains a potential quarterback room. What we're really looking to see is who's going to come through and be a productive part of this room. Who's going to move in 2026 from potential to production? Right now, all indications are Juju Lewis is the starter. Okay. For me, I'm going to call this a potential room. Okay. It's unproven. All right. Even though Isaac Wilson has a season as a starter under his belt, he still has a lot to prove at quarterback. Here's why. Let's look at the data. We don't make any assumptions. We don't speculate. We look at the actual data. Okay. So 6'2", 212. 2025 season, he only had 1 pass attempt. So he hasn't played for a whole year. He started in 2025 because I think of some injuries to Cam Rising. I don't know how many games he started. 56% completion percentage. He threw for 1,500 yards. He had 10 touchdowns and 11 interceptions. He does have an interception problem. Okay. You saw from the spring game, he was the only quarterback that threw an interception. Mojo Williams baited him into that throw, and he threw it right to him. Okay. Ahead of him is Juju Lewis, who started 3 games in 2025, I believe. So that's why I still have him as a potential player. Obviously, this is really his freshman season, right? His redshirt freshman year. 6'1", 190 pounds. 2025, 94 pass attempts, 55%, 589 yards, 4 touchdowns. What I like about Juju is that he protects the football. Okay. No interceptions across those 3 games. Okay. Had his best game against West Virginia. I think he was the PFF quarterback of the week in week 11 against West Virginia. So did a very, very good job. This is what you really want to see from your freshman quarterback in terms of production. 22 completions on 35 attempts. Do you guys think Juju's going to be throwing the ball 35 times a game in the go-go offense? I don't know. I think he's probably going to have fewer attempts, but more plays downfield, right? Average yard per catch is probably going to increase quite a bit. I think you got your quarterback throwing for 299 in the go-go offense. That's a great game. Completion percentage in that game, 62%. You love to see a plus 62% or plus 60% completion percentage. And I think this is what's going to go up. Average yards per catch. Because he does have some deep threats that we're going to talk about. 2 touchdowns that game, no interceptions. He had a long of 47 yards, but he was sacked 7 times. This is something that you want to see your freshman clean up. You want to see your freshman quarterback clean that up. Okay. But now, to the point somebody made earlier, was that an O-line fault or was that Juju Lewis's fault? I think at this point in the season, a lot of guys had checked out, right? I think Jordan Seaton was on the sideline. Whether he was legitimately injured or not is a point of debate. Okay. But this is what you want to see. So, most impressive game of the season for Juju Lewis was that West Virginia game. I think if he comes in the season having games like this, the Colorado Buffaloes are going to overperform. But I still think the quarterback room, it's all about potential and it's not about production right now. Okay. If you're liking the analysis, guys, if you like this kind of in-depth explanation of what we're looking at as a team, go ahead, hit that like button, hit that subscribe. And oh, by the way, we have super chats now. So if you want to support the show financially, super chat, super thanks are welcome. All right, let's go into the running back room. Now, guys who I have as gold stars, meaning guys who are consistently making plays in this room, for me are Damian Henderson and Bryce Hicks. Most people don't talk about Bryce Hicks because he's essentially that third string running back, but I really, really like what I see from him every single practice. He's either making a long run and scoring a touchdown, or he's coming out of the backfield, catching the ball and scoring a touchdown. Damian Henderson, for me, has been Mr. Consistent in this running back room. Big plays during the spring game, big plays every practice. And the guy I feel like is making moves in this room is Micah Welch. I think he is probably going to go into the season as the number one running back, but I think he missed a couple spring practices. He's kind of working his way back into the full rotation. So he's not quite back to 100%. Now, I don't have a gold star or a green by DeKalen Taylor. I think he's really the gadget guy on this team. I don't think he's going to be a true running back in terms of carrying commanding a bulk of the carries. I think there's too many pure running backs in that room that are going to command a bulk of the carries. Okay. So this is how I have the two deep depth chart. Now, remember what we're talking about now, potential versus production. Okay. So let's look at the top two running backs here that I have, Damian Henderson and Micah Welch. I think I probably have better statistics on Micah Welch than Damian Henderson, but let's start with Micah. I love Micah's game, right? He continues to develop into his body. This is going to be his junior season. I don't think he's taken a red shirt. I think he's played enough games in each of his first two seasons, freshman and sophomore, to now be a junior, right? Somebody correct me if I'm wrong. So 2024, again, this is where really what my issues with Pat Shurmur starts. I don't think he should have been the offensive coordinator in 2025. Look, you got a guy like Micah Welch. He was a freshman. I think he did get hurt, though. I think he had a hamstring injury, so he didn't play that entire season. 43 carries, 186 yards. 2025, he doubles his carries, essentially. 96 carries, 384 yards, averaging 4 yards per carry. He had 4 touchdowns, and he is a red zone monster. If I'm in the red zone, if I'm inside the 10, I'm handing the ball off to Micah Welch. He runs hard, and he gives out CTEs. But even with Micah Welch, I wouldn't rank him as a production running back yet. I think he's still a potential running back, right? I think 2026 is going to be his production year where he really has to put it on film. For me, a productive running back is a guy who, one, is able to get sufficient carries. Sufficient carries to me every single game is more than 15. Right? More than 15 rush attempts. Hopefully you get up to 20 rush attempts as a running back to really become fully productive, but really want to see that he could stay healthy throughout an entire college football season, carrying the ball 15 to 20 times a game. Lamont says, Micah is just okay. He's just mid. Damian is solid, needs to continue to work on his speed and pad level. Yeah, he's a big running back, right? He's a big running back. Pad level is always an issue with the tall guys. Okay, so let's take a look now at Damian Henderson. Okay, here we go. Damian Henderson, the second, Sacramento State, now at Colorado, had a breakout 2025 sophomore season, so he's just a sophomore. Recorded 565 rushing yards, 5 touchdowns on 91 carries, averaging 6.2 yards per carry. Yeah, he's a big guy, but he's not the bruising back. I think you got more of a bruiser in Micah Welch than you do in Damian Henderson. But he is a guy that will break big runs, right? He will get you chunk yards in the run game. So at 565 yards, I still don't think he is that production running back in that room. I think 2026 is his year to prove it as he steps up in competition in the Big 12. Okay. DeKalen Taylor, because of the injuries that cut his season short in 2025, I think he is still in his prove it season. So more of a potential guy in 2026. We want to see him stay healthy the whole year. And Richard Young is clearly just a potential guy, right? Even with the time that he spent at Alabama. So I would rank our running back room as still a potential running back room. Still based on potential here, guys. So when people are saying, "Oh, we're going to go 10-2, we're going to go 9-3, we're going to go 8-4," my season prediction is, hey, how many of these guys are actually going to move from potential to production? We definitely need all four of these guys, Damian Henderson, Micah Welsh, DeKalen Taylor, and Richard Young, to stay healthy all year and go from potential to production. Okay. I think they have a good thing in their coach, Johnny Mack, who is really coaching them up. I really like that running back coach. I love that Brennan Marion is working with the quarterbacks. I think that's going to bode well for Juju Lewis and Isaac Wilson. But I think the person that's going to benefit the most from Brennan Marion's coaching is going to be Keneal Sweetwine. I think he has the size and he has the ability to run the football, right? That's going to bode very, very well for a quarterback in the go-go offense. In terms of the guy who Brennan Marion is going to have under his tutelage the longest, if he can keep him, right, for the next 3 years and really have him show up on the field as a junior, right? Juju Lewis is going to be here and hopefully in 2027 is going to be Keneal Sweetwine. I really like him as a quarterback prospect. Okay. So 2 positions gone through so far. Both of them for me are still potential positions. Go ahead, hit that like, hit that subscribe if you're so inclined. Go ahead and give me a super chat. Give me a super chat. All right, let's move to wide receivers, right? The most exciting room, I think, on this Colorado football team. And hang on for a second. I got to make sure family is straight. Okay. So, Colorado football wide receiver room. Okay. Proven production. Proven production. Danny Scudero. The NCAA leader in receiving yards for 2025. There's no question. There is no doubt. There should not be any question in your mind who wide receiver 1 is at this stage of the game. Wide receiver 1 is Danny Scudero. The most productive offensive player that we have, Biletnikoff semifinalist. The only reason he doesn't get the respect, I think, that other players with all of the other intangibles typically get is because of his size. Hang on for a second, guys. I got to take care of this. I'm getting pinged right now for some family reasons. Hang on for a second. I apologize. All right, guys, I am so sorry about that, but family first. I hope you guys can appreciate that I needed to make sure that my wife was straight and my daughter was straight. So that's what I was doing just now. All right, so let's talk about production. Let's talk about production. Danny Scudero. And I think what I was saying was if this guy was 6'2", 6'3", 215 pounds, we would be talking about this guy all the time. But because he's like 5'10", 5'9", 100, a buck 60, buck 70, nobody is talking about what a massive pickup Danny Scudero is. If Danny Scudero had all of the measurables of some of the other guys that are more highly touted than him, we'd be talking about him being the best wide receiver in the Big 12. And right now, stamp it. Danny Scudero is going to be the leading wide receiver in receiving yards in the Big 12 in 2026. Look at the spring game tape. If you haven't evaluated the spring game tape, look how many times Danny Scudero was targeted downfield. Look how many times Danny Scudero was targeted downfield. Okay. I have him having an 800 plus yard season. He might not necessarily get to 1,200 yards because he was the pure number one guy at San Jose State. He was playing against a different level of competition when it comes to guys in coverage. But I have Danny Scudero as being one of the most productive guys that we're going to have on this offense. There is no question that Danny Scudero is not potential. He is proven production, and he's going to continue to show it. He shows it every single day in practice, which is why I have him with a gold star. Okay. Now, next to him, well, actually, let's talk about the guys behind him right now. And I have him here as the X. The X is typically the guy who's lined up by himself, right? Uh, and typically the X is taken on by the best cover guy, especially if you have an elite corner that tends to follow his guy all over the field, right? Could play on the left side, could play on the right side. But behind Danny Scudero and due to injuries is the freshman Alex Ward. Now, you know that's a pure potential. Now, behind him are guys that we absolutely need to get back before the season starts. We need to get Joseph Williams back before the season starts. We just do not have enough proven production in this wide receiver room to afford to not have Joseph Williams back and starting when the season starts. Okay. Let's first look at Danny Scudero because we've been doing that for everybody else. So you can see that I'm not just making up this thing about proven production. And there it is. 88 receptions. Great hands. You don't get 88 receptions if when you're targeted, you're not both open, can make contested catches, and have great hands. You don't put up that kind of numbers, right? Tied for 5th in the nation. 1,297 receiving yards, 1st in the nation. 10 touchdowns, right? He gets in the end zone, tied for 12th in the nation. And his average wasn't, it's kind of like when you get in the average yards of like 14.8, 14.9, right? These little point differences in terms of average yards per catch. But as you can see, man, he's far and away our most productive player on offense. All right. Look at some of these games. 9 receptions, 189 yards against Central Michigan, a 21 yard per catch average. Idaho, 6 catches, 130. He only needed 6 catches to go over 100 yards. Stanford gave them headaches, 11 catches, 135 yards. University of New Mexico, 7 catches, 151. He doesn't need a lot of touches to get his yards, guys. Why? Because he's a big play wide receiver. All right. He's a big play wide receiver. Look at Wyoming. There was no wide receiver when we played Wyoming in 2025 that had 10 catches for 180 yards. He got off. And look at some of the longs in these games, right? 72 yards, 70 yards, 43, 56, 46, 62. Is this his best game right here? 7 catches, 215 yards, 30 yards average per catch, and a 62-yard touchdown. We got a dog in Danny Scudero. Hands down, we got a dog in Danny Scudero, y'all. Most productive player that we have on this offense right now. Now let's look at JoJo Williams. Okay. 6'2", 200 pounds, 37 catches, 489 yards. We know JoJo is better than that. We know he's better than that. Right? He had a better freshman season where he was the Conference USA Freshman of the Year at wide receiver. I think he had 700 yards receiving that season. I think JoJo has the potential to go over 800 receiving yards this season alongside Danny Scudero. Danny Scudero is going to give defensive coordinators nightmares, and that's going to bode very, very well for Joseph Williams. We absolutely need this production back in 2026. In 2026. All right. Best game, one of the thrilling games of the season where we won the game and he had the closeout catch to put the game away. 8 catches, 128 yards. But you can see the difference between Danny Scudero's production and the production here that we see from Joseph Williams. Okay. He's still due for that breakout season. He is still due for that breakout season. And I'm ready to see him come back and get on the field and get back into playing form. Okay. Hakeem Williams, we also need him on the outside for size, right? He is definitely, this is his show me season, right? I feel like Hakeem Williams has to contribute majorly to this team for him to keep his college career alive. Okay. And then we have the freshman who also provides us some size on the outside, which is Christian Ward, who is on IR right now, but I think it was more of a hand or a wrist injury. I expect that he's going to be back sooner or later. But I think Joseph Williams and Hakeem Williams are going to be back closer to the fall. Okay, which is why I have them in kind of that pink color because the longer recovery time. And I think Christian Ward is going to be back shortly. So I love what we have in our X wide receiver, our number one wide receiver in Danny Scudero from a production standpoint. Are out there at the slot right now. Okay, Quentin Gibson. He's still a potential player. Had a decent freshman season. I know he probably wanted to see the ball more often. He has been getting the ball. He got off to the spring with an injury, so his return was a little bit slow. Started to see more action towards the end of spring ball. And I think right now, and that's why I have him in green, he's making enough plays that I have him worked into the starting slot position. Followed by Caleb Mathis, Mr. Consistent, and Ernest Campbell. I only have him at that third string because of his track obligations. There's going to be a real battle at the slot between Quentin Gibson, potentially Caleb Mathis, but I feel like sometimes they put Caleb to the outside, Ernest Campbell, and possibly DeAndre Moore. DeAndre Moore saw a lot of reps at slot wide receiver in Texas. So I could see a world where the starting three, if everybody's back and everybody's fully recovered, be Danny Scudero outside, DeAndre Moore inside, and Joseph Williams on the opposite side of those two guys. I think that is a deadly combination, right? But at slot, I have a lot of potential, not a lot of production. Ernest Campbell is maybe the most productive guy there because of his time at Sac State. But how does that translate into Big 12 football? That is yet to be determined. That is yet to be determined. Okay. Now, my favorite unit on this team absolutely is the offensive line. And I love what I'm seeing from Leon Bell right now at left tackle. Okay. A very, very productive player. Kind of funny about offensive lineman stats, but we'll probably get more about games played. See what the AI has for us. So, man, this is a big guy. Leon Bell, 6'8", 330-pound redshirt junior. It has for the California Bears. Obviously, he transferred to Colorado. He started 8 out of 11 games. 2025 season highlights. He's a key pass protector, allowing only 3 sacks and achieving a 75.6 grade against Eastern Kentucky, which was his best game. I don't always trust AI like this. Let me see what ESPN has. Yeah, the ESPN's kind of offensive lineman statistics are hard to come by unless you're in PFF. But I think we got a good pickup here in Le'Veon Bell. I think this is a production guy with 8 games started on a team that was pretty good in 2025. So I love Le'Veon Bell at left tackle. When I did my roster update on Thursday, I had Yaya Atia on the thumbnail. I think he's really going to be a key player for us on the offensive line, not just by what he does on the field, but by what he does off the field as well. And the best game, similar to Juju Lewis, that he had last year was when he started against West Virginia. I think he was the Big 12 PFF left guard of the week. We want to see Yaya become more productive in that regard. I think he's decent in pass blocking. He needs to improve in his run blocking for this go-go offense to really work. So I think Yaya is more potential, whereas Le'Veon Bell is more production. Demetrius Hunter, I know Mr. Hunter, Demetrius Hunter's father was in the chat earlier. I don't know if he is still with us, but this is a guy who is production over potential, right? He is absolutely one of the leaders on this offensive line, if not the leader on the offensive line. And he's coming off a great season with the Houston Cougars, where they have an excellent record and they put belt to Colorado last year. So Demetrius Hunter is a pure production play. So counting in terms of production and potential so far, we got 2 old linemen that I have pegged as highly productive players for this team. All right, Mr. Hunter is still in the chat. So how are you feeling about how things are going with Demetrius's time now at Colorado? What are you hearing? Because everything that we're seeing, all indications are that he's enjoying himself. He's getting adapted to the go-go offense, and he's going to be a crucial piece for us. I think he's going to be the guy really helping all of these other guys reach their full potential. So I really love what we have in Demetrius Hunter. We're a little bit thin, in my personal opinion, at center, but he's also backed up with a proven player in Sean Kinney, who is his backup. I would love to see if we could bring in one more center, even if it's just a developmental piece to give us a little bit more depth at that position. To the right of him at right guard, I have Jose Soto, primarily because of his experience with Brennan Marion and really being a guy that can help everybody get lined up and understand the go-go offense a lot quicker. He's been playing extremely well. He's been very consistent, and I think he's definitely part of that starting lineup. But since he's taking the jump to the Big 12, I still have him as a potential piece and not a production piece. So Mr. Hunter says that Demetrius loves the offensive coaching staff. Well, that's great to hear. He's going to be a very, very important piece for this team. Now, lined up right behind Jose Soto is a guy that I want you guys to watch. Number 71, and I have him in green here. He is a guy for me that has been making plays. He is a guy that is mean as hell. And I love a mean, evil offensive lineman. Javon McFadden is competitive. He has the measurables to play guard, and he is mean as all get out. He is the guy who wants to block the opponent into the ground, into the sideline, into the cooler, and talk to him all the way back to the huddle and remind him of what he just did to him. Okay. And I love the play that I've been seeing from Javon McFadden. He's the Ohio State transfer. And for me, he's been everything as advertised. Everything as advertised. There's a real competition here, and I think it's more potential again at right tackle between Taj White and Larry Johnson. Larry Johnson was our starting right tackle in 2025, but because Taj White brings that experience, that starting experience from Rutgers, I have him with the slight nod. Now, a guy I haven't seen much of, who I have on IR right now at that right tackle position, is Javon Richardson, the Missouri transfer. He was in just his jersey, no pads during the spring game. I've seen him on the sideline during spring practices. Would love to get him back and really have a 3, maybe 4-man competition with Andre Roy not looking to sit again at right tackle. So we have a lot of good things going for us at offensive line. I think even Brennan Marion and possibly Coach Prime commented on the offensive line. I think Gunnar White and that entire staff, Gerard, are doing an excellent job with this line, and they're really gelling. Some other guys that are probably going to play prominent on that offensive line are going to be Bo Hughley, which I think is getting beat out right now by Leon Bell. But I think long term, Bo Hughley is going to give us some stability at left tackle. Chauncey Gooden, who is now a sophomore, redshirt sophomore, playing behind Yaya Atia. I think that's a real battle there as well. But a blast from the past, Philip Houston switching from right tackle to left guard after a season missed due to injury is providing a depth piece at that tackle position. But one of the freshmen that I'm very, very happy about and glad to see him on the team is Xavier Payne. Xavier Payne is going to be a player at Colorado. Go ahead and stamp it. He's in the same class for me as the defensive standout freshmen, Mojo Williams and Braylon Edwards. So I love that pickup in Xavier Payne at that left tackle position. So grading the entire offensive line, I'm going to put a production stamp on that line as a unit, right? With a Leon Bell, real starting experience on a winning team. Yaya Atia, significant starting experience. Not significant, but some starting experience. Demetrius Hunter, significant starting experience. Jose Soto, significant starting experience, having started all season for Sacramento State. And Taj White with some starting experience from Rutgers. I'm going to say that is probably our most productive total unit when taken as a whole. All right. Mr. Hunter says, new offense question. I think they can win 10 games. Hey, listen, you got the outside track, right? And if you're talking to your son, he's probably giving you some information on what he sees and the potential for this offense. So you have them rated at 10 games. But are you looking, sir, at the entirety of the football team? Meaning, do we have in Julian Lewis a quarterback who could win you 10 games? Because for me, I have that potential tag on him right now. He's still a freshman. I think for me, if I could put a freshman quarterback out there and he could win me 7 games, I'm pretty happy. And it's a significant step up from what we had last year, which was a 3-win team. I think a 7-5 team with a freshman quarterback is a pretty solid turnaround. I hope for more, right? But being a pragmatist and being very, very analytical about it, my analysis is telling me I'm more 7-5 as I go through this process than I am 10-2 or maybe 9-3, right? But this team, it has a lot of potential though. It has a lot of potential. Let's go to tight end. One of the most unfortunate storylines coming out of the spring game is Zach Atkins' injury. I don't know the severity of the injury. I think he's going to be back by the fall, but right now I have him in that pink color as sort of a longer recovery time for Zach Atkins. However, great pickup in Fisher Clements, number 89, both in the run game and in the pass game. Coach Niblett is doing a great job with that tight end room. A guy I'm watching, redshirt sophomore Corbin Lazier, is currently making plays. As he develops, I think he's going to be a great pass catcher and a safety blanket for our quarterbacks at that tight end position. So watch out for Corbin Lazier. I think that room is still potential. Outside of Zach Atkins, not many of these guys have Power 4 playing experience. So we're going to see how they develop over the summer. Now, most productive wide receiver opposite Danny Scudero right now is Cam Perry. So let's look at Cam Perry's numbers and why I say he's proven production. Are you guys enjoying the show? If you are, go ahead and hit that like button. Hit that subscribe button if you're not currently subscribed. This is the biggest, the largest Saturday community show for the Colorado Buffaloes. I appreciate all of you guys who are in here and who are contributing to the conversation. So let's look at Cam Perry, Miami of Ohio transfer. He's a junior, 5'9", 168 pounds, out of Atlanta, Georgia. 43 receptions, ranked number 25 in the country with 976 receiving yards, 6 touchdowns with a 22.7 yard per catch average. So he's a big play wide receiver. You've seen glimpses of it in spring ball, but I really, really love what we saw during the spring and look at some of these games that he had over Miami. So against Rutgers, right? Big 10 opponent, 4 catches, 108 yards. He only needs 4 catches to go over 100, guys. 5 catches, 122. Look at this. 3 catches, 122. 3 catches, 76. His production kind of tapers off middle of the season, and now he's productive in spots. But look at the start to the season he had, and look at this catch right here. One-handed on the sideline in the middle of 2 defenders. Cam Perry, for me, has the best hands on the team. If you haven't watched my review of Cam Perry's highlights, the full in-depth review of his 2024-2025 seasons, please check it out. It is on the channel. So I love what we have in Cam Perry on the outside. What I do not like is the issue of size. Let me go ahead and take this comment off so you can see the rest of that receiver room on this side. So I have Cam Perry, but who I really love and who's a true playmaker for the Colorado Buffaloes is Quanell Farrakhan. We are going to see a lot of Quanell in 2026. And in terms of guys we absolutely have to retain no matter what happens this season, Quanell Farrakhan is one of them because he's going to be a starter in 2027. I mean, throw the bag at him, throw the NIL money at him. We have to keep Quanell, and we have to give him enough opportunities on the field because he is a playmaker. I think DeAndre Moore is probably going to return much sooner than a Joseph Williams or a Hakeem Williams, so I have him in yellow. But, man, when we get DeAndre Moore back, right, that wide receiver lining up, 3 wide receiver set with a Danny Scudero, a DeAndre Moore, and a Joseph Williams, or you can interchange that with a Quanell or a Cam Perry or a Quentin Gibson. We're going to have an excellent 2 deep and even an Ernest Campbell as well when all of these guys are healthy. And a player I really want to see is Taggart Barton. He was having a spectacular spring in 2025 before injuring his shoulder or his arm. Hopefully he's going to be fully recovered soon, but he's going to make some noise in 2025. So watch out for Taggart Barton. All right, guys, so I wanted to go through the entire lineup, and I'm kind of giving you a quick recap. I have the quarterback room as mostly potential. I have the running back room as mostly potential. I have the wide receiver room as a whole as proven production. I have the offensive line as proven production, and I have that tight end room as mostly potential. I would love to hear from you in the comments if you think we have a team that's mostly potential or production. When I average it out, I'm leaning potential for 2026 in this team. They still have a long way to the season. I'm going to continue to give you these breakdowns and these analysis. If my opinion changes between now and the season, I will make an update. I'm not going to stand on this as just kind of my final say, but I'm just looking right at the facts, at the statistics, et cetera, et cetera. So great question here that I want to deal with. And now I'm going to start dealing with your questions before I give you guys my season prediction. Mr. Hunter says, do you think they can play for a Big 12 championship? I think they have the potential to, but I haven't seen the production to get them there, right? I don't have enough data to reliably say that without most of that just being the hope that I have for the team. I hope in 2026 they're going to be playing for a Big 12 championship. I cannot say that based on what I've seen, both offensive and defensively, because a lot of these guys are playing together for the first time, which is the norm in college football, but it still does take time for a team to gel and become a championship team. So I have them as, 7-5 is the floor, absolute floor, right? 8-4, I think, is what ideally I'd like to see this team at. And because I believe there is enough parity in the Big 12 that an 8-4 team will be in the hunt for the championship. You got a Texas Tech, right, reloaded. You got a BYU, which is a perennial competitor. And you have a Utah, which is a perennial competitor. Now they have a new coach in Utah and, all of that. So we'll see if the Utah of 2024 is what we see on the field versus the Utah of 2025 versus the Utah of 2024. But I think if Colorado can work their way with an 8-4 season into that mix between Texas Tech, BYU, Utah, potentially Colorado coming down late in the season and really battling it out to see who's going to go to the Big 12 championship, that's going to be amazing for this football team. Now, when you're talking about 9-3 and 10-2 and stuff, that means they're going to be the outright, right? They're going to get the bid outright, and they're not really going to have to battle it out or go to some kind of tiebreaker to get into the Big 12 championship. But let's look at this season. Let's look at the schedule. Because we got to find those 10 wins, Mr. Hunter, that you're projecting, right? How are you guys liking the show? Let me know if you're liking the show. Hit that like button. Hit that subscribe button. Every Saturday at 12 o'clock, we're here talking Colorado football, all right? So we got to find 10 games here. Now, for me, the biggest game, the must-win game has to be Georgia Tech. You cannot drop Georgia Tech no matter what, right? It is the Gettysburg. It's the Battle of the Bulge. It's the D-Day. You're storming the beach on Normandy. I mean, that is how important the Georgia Tech game is. It is the deciding battle of the war of 2026. You got to get that win. You got to get that road win in Atlanta, in the city that Prime built. I mean, in the absolute craziness that is going to be Atlanta during this game. This is how the college football season is going to open. Opening weekend with Colorado versus Georgia Tech, Thursday night game in primetime. They got to win that game. All right. And they come back home to Folsom Field, Weber State. Weber State, I think is how you pronounce it. I think that's a win for them. Then they go on the road twice, right? So in their first 4 games, they're on the road 3 out of 4 games. You know, no matter who you're playing, when you're on the road, it's going to be a tough slog. Okay. To get to 10-2, they essentially have to be 4-0 by the time they get through Baylor. They have to win 3 road games and a home game to be 4-0 by the time they get to the homecoming game. And none other than Texas Tech. Right? Then they're followed by family weekend with Utah. All right. 2 of the potential competitors for the Big 12 championship, they're going to see mid-season back-to-back. Now, the good news is they're going to be seeing them after some great road tests. And the great thing about these first 4 games is that you're going to now know what you have. The starters are probably going to be fully solidified, meaning the guys that you run out there that you have a confidence in and you know what to expect when they're on the field, you're probably going to know that by game 4. Here, you might still be trying to figure out who's going to be running back 1, taking most of the carries. Who's going to be wide receiver 1, that true wide receiver 1, what combination of wide receivers you're going to use, how you're going to be using your tight ends, etc. You want to really have that figured out by like game 3. Because when Texas Tech comes to town, and Utah come to town, the good news is both those games are at Folsom Field. But you want to be fully gelled by the time these 2 teams come to town. You want to be at least 3-1, possibly 4-0, because you have the potential here to maybe drop 2 games. Okay? Maybe drop 2 games. This is serious competition. These 2 teams, I mean, this is me projecting now based on 2025, are probably going to be in the running trying to get into the college football playoffs. Okay? So what is going to be the record after the first 6 games? To go 10-2, you're going to have to be 5-1. To go 7-5, you could potentially be 3-3 by the end of this run. Right? You win 3, you definitely got to win Georgia Tech. Right? You're going to win Weber State. You probably win Northwestern, and you got this nice stretch. So maybe you could steal a 4th game here and maybe be 4-0 by the time you go into this. So even if you drop 2 games here or drop 1 game here, you're still in the driver's seat. But it's going to be tough, guys. It's going to be tough. Then you have another stretch here. Oklahoma State is a rebuilt team, so we're not going to really know. It's always a tough matchup against Kansas State. Then we go on the road into the desert. And then, Mr. Hunter, probably a game that you're going to be watching very closely. Houston comes calling at Folsom Field. Okay? Cincinnati, they're on the road. And then UCF, which has a rebuilt UCF team under Scott Frost. Watch out for UCF as a sleeper team in the Big 12. We close out the season with UCF coming to Colorado. So this is tough, guys. This is not a cakewalk to get to 8 wins or get to 9 wins or beyond. You're gonna have to beat some pretty tough conversation. Who do you think will win the Houston game? I know they have a highly touted quarterback, but now they have potential at quarterback, right? I think it is. I don't know if their starting quarterback from last year is still there. I think they have this freshman quarterback. I think if we can get pressure on a freshman, you always think you could win that game, but that's going to be a tough slog. Like every single one of these games are going to be tough. Every single one of these games are going to be tough, and we're going to have to show up and play. And that defense is going to be the key to all of this. So when we did the defensive depth chart analysis a week ago, what we were talking about, it's the same quarterback. Oh, well, he gave us problems in the run game last year, right? Not only was he productive in the pass game, he was also a problem in the run game as well. So this is where our defense has to stand up. So last year in 2025, when the defense gave up 14 points or less, we won those games. But on the games that we lost, the defense was giving up 35 points or more. Now, we know Brennan Marion was brought over because he averages 30 points per game. But even at 30 points per game, you cannot be giving up 35 points per game. You're always going to lose that game, right? So in a team like Houston, you want to hold them to under 21 points a game with an offense that has the potential to score 30 points a game to win that game. Good thing is that Houston is now on the road versus Colorado, who went on the road last year. It's going to be a tough matchup. I cannot call it, especially since they're going to have the same quarterback from last year who was pretty productive. Let's see Houston's record from last year. And Hugh Freeze is a hell of a coach. I think that's the football coach right there. Record football from I think it's Hugh Freeze. Oh. 6-3 in conference, overall 10-3. Look at the road win. So they struggled at home, actually. They went 3-3 at home, but 6-0 on the road. 6-0 on the road, that's tough. That's tough. End of the season with a two-win streak. They had 2 wins to close out the season. So they were still playing good football towards the end of the year. So again, but look here though. Texas Tech 12-2, BYU 12-2, Utah 12-2. And like I predicted, this is where you're going to have to play yourself into to be in the running for that Big 12 championship. In conference 8-1, 8-1, 7-2, 6-3. These 4 teams are going to want to be in that driver's seat, but look out for Arizona, who had a bounce back season in 2025. It's going to be a lot of fun, guys. 2026 is going to be a lot of fun, and I'm here for it. So I appreciate all of you guys who've joined me on another episode of the Community Live Show, guys. We've been grinding this thing out for 1 hour and 20 minutes. You guys have been highly engaged. You even gave me a break during the show to make sure that my family was straight, and for that, I appreciate you. If you're not subscribed right now, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. If you haven't liked the stream, go ahead and like the show. And then go back and watch all of the breakdowns that I have of all of these different players. I have a Juju Lewis breakdown. I have a DeAndre Moore breakdown. I have a Joseph Williams breakdown. I have a Danny Scudero breakdown. Binge the content. Do your homework and then come back next week for another live show. All right. So I close the live stream this way every single time. I pray that the Almighty is blessing you, that He is keeping you in good health, and that whatsoever your hands find to do prospers. And if you're going through a hard time, remember, hard times don't last forever. Until next time, peace.